we are going to look at a short video by Frank Turek of Cross-Examined. Today, we do a mini review of Rewriting History. Did Egypt attempt to hide the existence of Moses? On this episode of Ancient Egypt and the Bible. Okay, we have recently done a popcorn review of Frank Turek. And as we've mentioned previously, Turek has a master's degree in public administration and a doctor of ministry in apologetics from Southern Evangelical Seminary. So he is completely unqualified to talk about ancient Egypt or the Exodus. But despite the shellacking he took in our last popcorn review, he's at it again with this short video. The problem is this video will demonstrate why, if one is a complete amateur, you should exercise extreme care when talking about ancient Egypt. Okay, now, this video is really short, but we are going to bypass the intro, and we're automatically zooming into the funerary temple of Hapshepsut at Deir el-Bahari, which is in Thebes, Egypt. And we're going to start here at the 13-second mark. Okay, so hope you guys enjoy this.
The 1619 project was not the first attempt to rewrite history. They tried to rewrite history in ancient Egypt as well. We're in the Hapshepsut temple, and she was the woman that pulled Moses out of the water and later for a time became Pharaoh herself. Well, her name has been scratched out of her temple at certain points by Amenhotep II. He tried to replace his name with it. Why?
Okay. The idea that Hapshepsut pulled Moses out of the water is pure empty conjecture. There's not a shred of evidence that this ever took place. Moreover, as the daughter of Amenhotep I, she would have been completely forbidden to adopt on her own initiative as a princess. Turek here suggests that Amenhotep II scratched out Hapshepsut's name from her mortuary temple and replaced it with his own name. Now, remember that, because in a moment, Turek is going to do a big reveal.
Why? Because Amenhotep II was the pharaoh of the Exodus who got dope slapped by Yahweh and Moses, and he didn't want any memory of Hatshepsut, who brought up Moses. So he tried to take over this temple for himself, even though it was built by Hatshepsut, probably designed by Moses himself.
Now, this is pure fiction. All the evidence contradicts the idea that Amenhotep II was pharaoh of the Exodus. And there's certainly no evidence that Amenhotep II tried to take over the funerary temple of Hapshepsut. And all the evidence contradicts the idea that Senenmut was Moses. This is stupidity on a grand scale.
In fact, some people say Moses's Egyptian name was Senenmut, and Senenmut's grave, or I should say tomb, is almost under this temple, at the front of this temple. That tomb was never used. It was destroyed because Moses obviously left Egypt, went to Midian for 40 years, and when he came back, he was not going to be buried here.
Okay. This is Senenmut's cenotaph at Theban Tomb 353. And it was not destroyed, but it was also not completed and not used. That's different. Now, we have covered Senenmut several times on this channel, but let's just review the coverage for the sake of completeness. Senenmut was not Moses for the following reasons. 1. Senenmut and Hatshepsut were almost the same age. She was 7 when he was born. As a minor and a princess, she could not have ever been eligible to adopt a child. 2. Senenmut had no titles indicating he was adopted into the royal family. Adopted members of the royal family get royal titles. We even see this with Moses, who received the title, quote, son of the daughter of the king, end quote. That's a royal title. Senenmut has about 100 titles, none of which are royal at all. 3. He was a high official, but his highest office was overseer of the household, which was the 5th highest rank in Egypt. That is, after the 2 viziers, a chancellor, and the seal bearer. The adopted son of a king would have ranked much, much higher than 5th in rank. This doesn't make sense. Number 4. Senenmut was not a Semitic Asiatic. We know his pedigree, and he is an Egyptian, from Egyptian parents and grandparents, from Armant, which is south of Thebes. 5. His brothers and sisters were all recorded. He had 3 brothers and 2 sisters. None of them have Semitic names. Now, this may not be a big deal on its own. However, we know that Moses' sister, Miriam, had an Egyptian name. And yet, none of Senenmut's sisters were named Miriam. This would be extremely peculiar if Senenmut is recording all his siblings, and the only one that has an Egyptian name isn't listed. And then finally, number 6. Senenmut's career was active into the reign of Thutmose III, but his activity terminates at that time. So we presume that Senenmut died during the reign of Thutmose III, which gets eerily close to the early Exodus date. In short, all the evidence contradicts the idea that Senenmut was Moses. Only early Exodus date supporters keep this myth about Senenmut, Hapshepsut, and Moses alive. And it's all done in hopes that Amenhotep II would somehow miraculously be discovered as the Exodus pharaoh. But all the evidence contradicts it. And keeping this myth alive does nothing but brings Christianity into disrepute by clinging to things that have no evidential basis. Okay, here we go on now to the big reveal. What we're all waiting for here, where Frank Turek shows us that Amenhotep II replaces Hapshepsut's name with his own. Get ready for it.
Here, he took the Israelites just outside the Promised Land.
Here it comes. Get ready for it. Get ready for it. Hey, wait. That's not Amenhotep II. That's Men-Kep-Ray. That's Moses III. I'll even blow this thing up for you so you can see it. Okay, so there you have the cartouche magnified, blown up. And what we have here at the top is the solar disk. That's the sun god Re. And then we've got the men sign there. And then we've got the Khepru beetle here. Men-Kep-Ray. That is clearly the cartouche of Thutmose III. A first-year Egyptology student would have recognized that this is not the cartouche of Amenhotep II. It's a blatant bait and switch. Okay? Now, I think if you are going to make the claim that Amenhotep II usurped the temple, you need to show that. You can't just assert it and then slip someone else's cartouche in there and and expect us to buy this. Frank Turek here has told you this grand story of Amenhotep II being so angry at being defeated by Yahweh and Hapshepsut that he goes into her mortuary temple, scrubs out her cartouche, and puts his name in there. Well, if you come up with a story like that, you need evidence to support that. This isn't evidence of that. This is evidence of Thutmose III doing it. Thutmose III is Amenhotep II's predecessor. And Thutmose III had a lot of reason to be angry at Hapshepsut. Okay? She usurps his throne. It's his throne by right. He was crowned king for 3 years, and she takes over his throne. Okay? Then she sends him off to war to have a happy accident. He's got a lot of reason to want her name scratched out. So there's a more parsimonious explanation of why the Demitio Memoriae happened with Hapshepsut that has nothing to do with the Exodus, nothing to do with Amenhotep II. And when you show evidence like this, where you can't get the easy things right, and look, getting the cartouche right, that's easy stuff. That's the little things, okay? If you can't get the easy stuff right, who's going to trust you on the big stuff? Things like salvation, the idea of where we go in the next life. Those are the big things. Simple historical facts, like the identity of a cartouche, is easy. That's the little stuff. And if you can't get that right, it reflects poorly upon what you're going to say about the big stuff. Look, you don't have to lie about biblical history. There's lots and lots of evidence out there to support the Bible as containing history. Okay? So you don't need to lie about this. You don't need to make up these cockamamie stories. Okay? The Bible has more than enough evidence to support its historical aspects. But if you can't get the basics of history correct, it makes us look stupid. It's unnecessary. And it brings us into disrepute. And it has to end. These spinning of wild yarns, wild tales, these ad hoc stories to support an interpretation. I mean, it's not even supporting the biblical text here. It's supporting a particular interpretation of the biblical text that makes us all look bad. We need to take a step back here, start looking at these monuments within their proper historical and biblical contexts, and not mix up this stuff out of whole cloth. Because it just provides fodder for atheists. And then they laugh at us. And you know what? They're right to laugh at garbage like this. And this is why we do need our apologists to consult subject matter experts. Because if they're not consulting subject matter experts, it's so easy to get this stuff wrong. And Frank Turek here, in his little video here, in his 1 minute and 40-second video here, gets so much wrong in such a little space. So anyway, I hope you found that interesting. I hope you learned something. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time on Ancient Egypt and the Bible.